Welcome back to the channel, everyone, on this nice sunny day. My name is Haider Ali, and this is Ali's Media. I tell you what, I'm gassed to being a fifth year. I mean, even though the final year hasn't started yet, we're about 2-3 weeks away. It does feel like we're almost there, almost there. Less than a year left, and we've got those initials DR in front of our name. That's if everything goes well. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and interact with the video. And what I mean by that is leave a comment down below in what you have enjoyed or what you didn't enjoy, any suggestions of what you'd like to see in the future, as it does boost it for the algorithm. Right then, let's crack on. So what we're doing in this video, right, on the eve of fifth year, I think it's a perfect time to have a look back at fourth year, what's gone on, and discuss some tips and tricks for the incoming fourth year. So basically, it's going to be a little reflection, little review of how fourth year went for me. Obviously, I'm at the University of Birmingham, and it's the graduate entry course. So this is GEM or GEC 3, but we're fourth years to make that a little bit easier. But I guess, the tips in this video can be applied a little bit more generally to a lot of the other medical students up and down the country. So if you guys are watching, you're not from UOB, hello, and hope you enjoy. So I guess one of the first things that we're going to talk about, and one of the biggest changes from year 3, is the change to the flow of studying. So what I mean by that is that in third year, you had a little bit more of a stop-start nature. You could afford to, I'm not saying slack a bit, but afford to take a little bit of a breather, take a little bit of a rest, and some might say fall behind a little bit. But in fourth year, that's not the case. You find that in fourth year, you're going to cover a lot of the specialty medicine topics, and these are going to be very, very high yield and delivered in quite a short time. So if you do find yourself falling behind, yeah, it's a little bit of a long day for you, but you know what? I fell behind and I managed to catch up. And we've now passed the fourth year into the final year. So, there is hope, there is hope. So with everyone starting in different places on the timeline, I started with something called SPM-A and SPM-B. So it stands for Specialty Medicine A block and Specialty Medicine B block. So from what I mentioned before, 5 weeks in each of these blocks with 4 or 3 subspecialties built into them. So that's not a lot of time to go through a lot of the content. Hence, if you do fall behind, yeah, you might struggle a bit, but you know what? It's not impossible to get back on track. So with regards to the SPM-A block, we had oncology, hematology, and renal or nephrology, if you want to call it that. And in the SPM-B block, we had opthal, GUM, which stands for genitourinary medicine, dermatology, and rheumatology. And I tell you, out of all of those blocks, out of all of those specialties, I most enjoyed rheumatology and ophthalmology. Because on PassMed, they will give you a run for your money. And what that means is they are solid and there's a lot of questions. And it sounds a bit Stockholm syndrome-y when I say that I enjoyed them. But what I really mean is when those 25-30% scores started turning into 65-70% scores and you started seeing a lot more of those green ticks, yeah, that dopamine, that serotonin, it's a good hit. I did enjoy that. With SPM-B as well, it's a lot more clinic-based, which means you're going to be sent out to a lot of these hospitals' satellite sites. So they're not going to be on the main campus of the hospital itself. And that brings its own set of challenges. So on average, for each of these SPM-A and SPM-B blocks, you've got about a week and a half to really solidify your learning in each of these subspecialties. But as you'll notice, there's a lot of crossover in between these modules. For example, I hadn't really caught up with my oncology learning, but when palliative care rolled around, I was starting to see a lot more oncology and oncological management in palliative care. So, happy days in that case, I guess. So let's talk a little bit about my favorite block. We've talked a little bit about SPM-A and SPM-B. Out of the modules left, we've got SPC, which stands for Surgery and Perioperative Care. We've got NPC, which stands for Neuro, Palliative and Ortho. Doesn't stand for Ortho, my bad. I don't know why it's called NPC, but in NPC there is Neuro, Palliative and Ortho. You've got Psychiatry, and then that's the game, that's it for the year. And out of all of those blocks and sub blocks, my definite favorite has to be orthopedics. So we were placed at the Royal Orthopedic Hospital here in Birmingham. Fantastic place, honestly. CTF's amazing. The tank himself, Uzo, I don't know if he was ex-military, ex-army or marine or something like that. Great vibe to him, absolutely amazing. So my background being biomedical material science, we can, design from the engineering standpoint the implants and the materials that go into the human body. And my love has sort of, specialized into the lower limb sort of implants. So for example, knee implants, hip implants, intramedullary nails, screws, all that sort of stuff. So when we were learning about how to do and the guidelines around, hip surgery, knee surgery, the recommendations and the indications for this sort of stuff, it was great, absolutely great. My bread and butter, loved it. But because you're part of the theatre team, you have to come in obscenely early. For example, some of these, clinics or some of these pre-surgical ward rounds, let's call it, start 8 o'clock, which means you've got to be there at 7:30. And if you're placed at, for example, New Cross, it's a long day for you. So that's why I didn't put it in the top and left the spot open, obviously, to the king, orthopedics. And last but definitely not least, being the psychiatry block. So psychiatry, we gave 5 weeks to it on its own. And once again, it's very, very well taught. So we were placed at the Barbary. And apart from being literally round the corner from the uni, so, it's not a mission to get into early starts, the CTFs were fantastic. It's very, very, very well taught. And they have something called Ballant groups, which I'd never heard of before. And what that is everybody gets in a little circle. It's like circle time, but not really, and they talk a little bit about an interesting case that they have seen in the last week of psychiatry placement. And these Ballant groups run every week. And it allows you to reflect a little bit on what you've seen, what your feelings are, and allows people to ask you questions. Sorry, that's not quite correct. It allows people to talk about your case without you actually being present. So once you've told everyone about your case and shared your story, you actually have to leave the circle and you can overhear the discussions and all that sort of stuff. And then you give a little bit of feedback and your ideas on the discussions that have happened. It's a very, very interesting setup. So it's one to enjoy and one to engage with. Another thing about this year is you will get even more independence compared to third year. So you guys might have been shocked when you essentially let loose on the wards to go do your own thing, chase your own skills. And it's more of the same, really, but a lot less training wheels, so to speak. So a lot less input from your CTFs, a lot less input from your SATUs, so your senior academic tutors. But obviously, if you need them, they're still there. But in reality, you're essentially expected to go out, make connections with the MDT and search for those skills, practice those skills and really make the most of being on the wards. Again, what I mean by that is it allows you to step into the shoes of becoming a doctor, the shoes of becoming a clinician. So another interesting part of fourth year is you'll be introduced to the concept of conducting an audit and then the poster project that comes along with it. So this is the experience that I wouldn't say I particularly enjoyed. I sort of treated it a little bit like a tick box, You learn what you have to learn. You go out there and collect your data, you interrogate that data, and then you present it in a presentable format on a poster and then deliver that presentation within the exam period. And I'll talk about this a little bit later in the tips section. A lot of people will stress themselves out at the start of the year with regards to finding an audit that is insanely complicated or groundbreaking or whatever. And the fact of the matter is you need to learn to play the game. And what that means is the two priority things that you need to do this year is you need to pass your OSCEs and you need to pass your exams and you need to do all your skills, etc. And if you feel like something is going to be hindering you, pick an easy one. Honestly, I may as well discuss that tip here, really, to be honest. So my audit, the one that I picked, was that I approached a CT2, I think it was, at Russell's Hall, where I was doing my SPMA sort of placement. And just a sidetrack as well, one of the things that you want to do is not to leave your audit topic selection too late. The mobilization and how documentation is, conducted post orthopedic surgery. So, I mean, I may as well discuss that now a little bit. So the reason that I picked that is, as I work as a physio assistant, I look at a lot of the post-op notes and also the weight-bearing statuses of the patients that come out of my favorite sort of surgeries, so knee replacements, hip replacements, etc., etc. And new guidelines recently came out using correct weight-bearing terminology. I'll flash up my post up here basically, but if you want to have a look at the new guidelines that have come out, interested in orthopedics, all that sort of stuff, I'll leave a link in the description below, and also I'll flash up the website that I found it on here. So like I was saying, it's not a very complicated audit, you find your data in terms of the parameters that you're going to be looking for. You whack it all in an Excel sheet, you do your statistical analysis, all that sort of stuff, and then you present it on a poster. And I was able to finish the audit and all that sort of stuff just before December odd. But yeah, like I said, learn your skills, play the game, and focus on what actually really matters, into progressing into the 5th year. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the game. Hopefully the video was under 10 minutes. It probably wasn't, I had too much fun talking. And hopefully you guys learned something or enjoyed the video. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe and interact with the video. It's great for the algorithm. And what I mean by interact with the video is leave a comment down below on what you enjoyed or what you want to see more of, and any ideas for things that you'd like to see me do or talk about. So like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next one.